Hello everyone, great to have you here on the channel of MeteoMark Weather. Welcome. We have a lot to talk about in the world of weather. We have winter storms across the far north over the next couple weeks. We'll be exploring that possibility, see if the polar vortex is going to split. Yeah, it's springtime. I can't believe we're talking about this. But we're also talking about the big story, which is going to be massive amounts of severe weather across the south and even spreading more towards the north as well. And the tropics are going to look pretty interesting come the end of the month here. There's going to be a lot of surge of tropical moisture coming out of South America. As we stretch into that first week of April, we're going to be talking about a lot of moisture converging on the north central Caribbean. Let's get into it. All right, looking at our future radar here, our NAM 3 kilometer, you can get a good idea of what's going to be happening just over the next 60 hours or so. So here we go with the 26th. We head through noon. We got some bursts of snowflakes, some wet snow, some squally weather across New York and Pennsylvania here, mostly New York, but some lake enhancement coming off here. So we might have to deal with, some wet snowflakes here, but nothing too terribly heavy. So we turn our attention. Yeah, this feature across Texas. I'm going to turn my convective mode on here momentarily. We'll be talking about this up here in the Canadian Weather Outlook. Canada's looking at a lot of snow over the next couple weeks, and we're actually looking at Texas here for some potential serious heavy rain. All right, so let's flip over to the convective mode here. So as we head on into the 26th, Wednesday, right around 12 a.m. midnight, we got a few showers moving off the coast of the mid-Atlantic here up towards Cape Cod. So, as that feature moves out, we have some shower and thunderstorm action here across northeast Texas down to Mississippi. But this is going to be the big thing. There's two areas we're going to keep an eye on here. South Texas, South Central Texas especially, San Antonio, Austin area, and then we're going to watch this area up here. Let's take the Texas area first. So as we continue through 9 p.m. on Wednesday, look at this serious moisture moving into San Antonio and Austin area. Very concerned about torrential rains moving in over the same area. This is going to be a major issue. We're going to go over those rainfall amounts. And look at this. It's not moving much. 8 a.m. on Thursday morning, still San Antonio socked in, and it does start to move through towards Houston, still redeveloping here across parts of San Antonio, and then it does start to push some more moderate rain more to the north into the east here. So we're going to watch this. This is a major area that could train over the same area over and over again. And if we look up here in the upper Mississippi and Ohio River Valley, yep, we got those storms here down and through parts of southern Arkansas and Oklahoma here, northeast Texas. But the big story, of course, up here in the north is going to be some developing convection as we head later on into the 26th into the 27th especially. So right around Thursday morning around 8 a.m., we do get some convection up here through parts of the Ohio Valley, upper Mississippi River Valley. And there it is, right around midnight, getting into Friday, early morning hours, 2 a.m. This is when some of these storms could begin to become severe. So as far as severe weather, there is a marginal risk across South Texas during the day on Wednesday. We're not looking at much severe weather with this, though. This is going to be more of a flood threat and some regular thunderstorms all the way from the Gulf Coast all the way up to Iowa. And looking at your Thursday, there's two areas we're going to be watching. Continuing down here across southern Texas, and then up here across parts of the eastern plains and Midwest, we could be looking at a slight risk of severe thunderstorms on Thursday. All right, so picking up where our future radar left off here with the GFS, that high pressure moving off the East Coast, this is where we're going to see that moisture advecting from the Gulf Coast all the way up to the eastern Great Lakes. And you can see on the northern fringe, that is where we're going to see the heavy wet snow Adirondacks, White Green Mountains, continuing northeastward here as we stretch through the end of the week into Friday. Look at that. Now we're going to see areas of low pressure begin to ride here. This one across parts of Kansas. You can see wintry precipitation to the north. Some strong to severe thunderstorms here heading east. Now watch this as we head into the weekend. Here's the 30th. So we're stretching on into your Sunday. You can see another Colorado low, a second one, and here's the third one up here into parts of northeast, bringing through a first frontal boundary And here's where things really start to intensify. It's this next area of low pressure, potentially blizzard conditions on the backside of it. GFS taking these lows much further to the south, which would pull the cold air a little bit further south as well. GFS getting some strong to severe thunderstorms up into parts of the southern half of Ohio into southwestern Pennsylvania, across southern Pennsylvania. But look at this. On the 31st, this is something the GFS is kind of doing that's really strange, is bringing some heavy wet snow and mixed precipitation on the northern fringe that cuts right through Illinois, Indiana, northern Ohio, northern Pennsylvania, and the southern tier of upstate New York. This is something we'll have to keep a very close watch on, with strong to severe thunderstorms all the way down the south here into the Gulf Coast region. So we'll watch it here. If this does verify, this could be quite an interesting snowstorm in interior parts of the Northeast, so we'll keep an eye on it here. It's actually bringing the cold air here into downstate New York, into the southern part of the Hudson Valley here, so we'll have to watch it here. Mixed precipitation potentially into New York City here at 5 a.m. on April 1st. So, we got some time to watch this. This is not set in stone, but it is interesting. The GFS wants to bring the colder air down and develop this into kind of a coastal low. So as we continue through the 2nd to the 3rd, another system. This is a warmer system. It is bringing warmer air way up here into northern Michigan. It'll melt some of that snow. But here into the east, look at this. Cold air damming takes over into the mountains, heavy wet snow, and then some convective elements will bring some shower and thunderstorm action here into the mid-Atlantic, into the northeast, and that big area of low pressure with tremendous wind blasting up into the Canadian Maritimes here. Snow, wet snow, and lake-enhanced snow on the backside of it, high pressure building in, and then we get this next system with southwesterly flow moving into parts of the Ohio Valley, eastern Great Lakes, and the Northeast as another area of heavy precipitation and convective elements move through parts of the Mid-Atlantic. So you get the idea here. It's going to be really stormy. Yeah, this could be quite some strong storms from parts of eastern North Carolina, Virginia Beach, all the way down into the Gulf Coast. And then we try to get some sort of spin up going with snow here into the Appalachians. All right, so comparing that here to the European run, you can see that trough continuing across the east midweek here. Now look at this return flow in Texas. This is going to be the start of something here. Also up here across the Midwest, parts of the upper Mississippi and Ohio River valleys. This is where we see the strong thunderstorms try to start to take shape here. And this heavy rain, thunderstorm action across coastal Texas here, all the way up to San Antonio, Houston, Austin area. This is going to be one big gully washers here. Now look at this into Friday. Those showers and thunderstorms push to the north and to the east here. Getting some snow up here towards the U.S.-Canadian border, some mixed precipitation as well, all the way up here into the northern part of New England. So here's our next area of low pressure. Massive southerly flow here. This is the storm system I'm most concerned about here into the short term. As you can see, this system's really going to take root across the central part of the plains. It's not overly strong, but it does have a lot going for it. And these isobars packed pretty close together. Those wind speeds are going to be increasing. Now here on Sunday, the 30th here, you can see there is our first boundary. We do have a secondary boundary behind it where storms could fire. Northern Wisconsin and Michigan, that's where you're going to get the heavy wet snow. And some beneficial rain making it back east here throughout the mid-Atlantic, the Northeast, and down in through the Southeast here. Now, here's where things get really interesting with the European run. So here is later in the day on Sunday. This puts southern Illinois, Indiana, and all of Ohio in the risk for strong thunderstorms. Also down in through parts of the Carolinas and the peninsula of Florida as well. So this is pretty interesting how this is going to set up here. That squall line races eastward into western New York, western Pennsylvania, and another one consolidating across the Appalachians here. So this could be quite a big storm system going nocturnal throughout the evening into the night hours of Sunday night into Monday, as this area of low pressure winds up across the St. Lawrence River Valley. Lots of convection heading east. You know the wind speeds are going to be howling, and the system has a secondary frontal boundary moving through as well. So look at this. This is Monday. You can see what's happening across much of the Northeast. this boundary to the east, that's where we're going to see those showers and thunderstorms exit off the coast, finally into April 1st and the 2nd. We get our next storm system here moving through parts of the plains with some strong thunderstorms entering Ohio, northern Indiana, and eventually much of the Ohio River Valley down and through the Mississippi River Valley. We do have an area of high pressure, cold high just off the coast, so this could lock in some colder air longer. But look at this. This is going to bring and evict these strong to severe thunderstorm systems all the way into parts of the Ohio Valley, eastern Great Lakes, and into the Northeast. And look at this one right around the 4th. Another system diving down here. Look at this. This could be a massive severe weather outbreak pushing off to the north into the east towards Ohio and southern Pennsylvania. So plenty of chances this pivots towards the Gulf Coast. You see another Colorado low moving out here, and this could be really nasty. Look at this on April 6th. These systems that evict off the plateau here in the mountains. This is where you really get this cranking. This could be your day for Texas, Oklahoma, up to Kansas. And this spreads eastward very rapidly. Severe weather threat increasing as this moves east. Also heavy rain threat increasing through April 8th and the 9th. You can see the storm system trying to... This is really far out. But it is interesting that on the backside of it, we're showing a heavy wet snowstorm as this storm kind of tries to go nor'easter on us here across the Northeast. So liquid equivalent precipitation here on our European run. You can see through the weekend into early next week, you can see Texas. This is where things are going to get real with these rainfall amounts. I'll zoom in momentarily. Up through the Ohio River Valley as well. This takes us through April 2nd. So yeah, there's going to be some surges of moisture here as we head on into that first full week of April. And look at this. This could be a trend of things to come. I know we need the rain in many areas, but this is a lot pretty quickly here. So if we just go up and down here, this is a 4 to 8 inch band stretching from South Texas, coastal Texas, all the way up through Louisiana, Arkansas, all the way up the spine of the Mississippi River Valley and the Ohio River Valley into parts of the Northeast. And looking at the GFS here, as we stretch through the weekend, you can see the surge of moisture from Texas all the way up the Mississippi and Ohio River Valleys. Let's see where the bullseyes lie for the GFS. Yeah, it's similar. It might just be a little slightly to the east here, but coastal Texas, interior Texas, all the way up through parts of the Northeast here. That is where we're looking at that band of total 3.5 close to 7 inches in some of these areas. There it is, South Texas. Yeah, concerned about the San Antonio area. Wow, that's 12 inches of rain. So this could be really bad, heading all the way up the Mississippi River Valley, Ohio River Valley, and into parts of the Northeast. We'll have to watch it because I know you need the rain, but sometimes we have a tendency to get it too fast. All right, so looking at the European model for our snowfall amounts, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of wet snow, especially in the higher elevations over the next couple days here across parts of the Northeast and New England. Most of the snow remaining bottled up north of the U.S.-Canadian border and in the Rocky Mountains, exception the weekend storm. This is where we're going to see that band of 4 to 8, locally higher 10 to 12, and that's going to arc here into southeastern Canada. Now, as we stretch through that first full week of April, just go all the way to the end, yeah, this last frame, I know it looks pretty interesting right around the 7th into the 8th. That's a development we'll have to keep an eye on here. It's pretty far out, a lot can change, but eastern Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, upstate New York, we might have to watch out for a potential heavy snow event on the backside. Here's our weekend storm getting upwards of 6 to 12 inches in some of these areas. And here we go with our GFS run. It is a little bit closer to the U.S.-Canadian border up here, but lesser amounts here across parts of the northern Midwest and the plains, although you still get eclipsing 6 inches in some of those purple zones. Now, as we head through Monday into Tuesday, there's a little feature that's showing up here on the GFS we'll have to keep a very close watch on. Look at that. That is pretty interesting. Right around Tuesday the 1st. Yeah, this is kind of cutting a little bit closer to the south with more cold air to the north, as I was showing you on the GFS. So GFS is coming in, and there it is, Monday the 7th as well. GFS is coming in much further south and colder with some pretty impressive snowfall totals. I'm not so certain I buy this, but you know, stranger things have happened this time of year. We'll have to keep an eye on this trend. The European model has not grabbed a hold of this at all. And here we go with the upper level pattern here. As you can see, yeah, we got that firecracker ridge just in time for the weekend. How long is that going to last? We're going to see a little bit of a trough move through right around April 1st. Look at that ridging up there in the Gulf of Alaska. Now, as we stretch through time, that firecracker ridge really holds tough at least through the first full week of April. Then we do start to get some digging right around April 7th here. This big old area of low pressure and troughiness really sets up across the southeast U.S. And let's take a look at the European model here for the upper level pattern, remaining pretty ridgy here. Lots of ridging across the East Coast, Eastern North America here, and that's just going to continue through the first part of April. We do get these little storms that move through, these little cutoff lows, but you can see ridging very prominent here right around April 9th here on the European model. If we take a look at the NAO index, it is very positive and expected to remain positive through April here, although it does push towards maybe a little bit neutral come that second week of April. We'll have to keep an eye on it. And the MJO index, here is some interesting here in phase 8. And look at this. Models kind of split on this. Some of them take it towards 8 and 1, which should be more active. Others take it towards 6 and 7, which would be slightly less active than it is now. And thanks to Tropical Tidbits here for our Polar Vortex watch. Now, look at this. As we head later on in the month, 27th, here we go. You see those colder colors. The polar vortex located right over here in Northern Europe. It's going to focus some below average temperatures here across Eastern North America as we stretch through the end of the month. Now, it does start to moderate a bit here. You can see the cell coming over by Greenland, but there is going to be some of these lighter colors that show up from time to time right around the 7th into the 8th across Eastern North America. And it's cell right here into North Central Canada. So you can kind of see these lesser orangish colors are more whitish. We'll have to watch out for some little cool air outbreaks here. And before we continue with more weather here, we're going to dive into the tropics. Don't forget, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe bell notification button so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates, especially this upcoming hurricane season. Let's continue. All right, so the tropics here looking pretty interesting. We're going to take a look at a few features here. As we continue through the 26th into the 27th, you can see what's going to be happening. It starts off kind of quiet. We got some showers moving through the Lesser Antilles here and through the Bahamas and the north central part of the Caribbean. But you can see what's going to be happening with these frontal boundaries. They don't make it too far to the south here. Lots of shower and thunderstorm action across the Bahamas. And then we got some rain showers moving through parts of the Lesser Antilles. Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti. This seems to be the area where, as we approach the end of the month, a lot of the moisture is going to be focusing. So we're going to watch out for that. Central America is looking drier these days. So enjoy that dryness because tropical season is right around the corner. But you can see these showers moving just to the east-northeast on this flow as we head in time through the 31st into the 1st. And there's some showers moving through Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and parts of Costa Rica and Panama. But not much up here towards Honduras. Maybe a few showers kicking up around Belize, but Cancun looks crystal clear. Now, right around the 2nd, you see Jamaica. You're going to start to get some of these shower and thunder shower action here. So as we head through the 3rd into the 4th, you can see these showers moving on this easterly flow. You get the idea they're moving in through parts of the Lesser Antilles and through the Bahamas here. So we're looking at a very problematic area across parts of the north central Caribbean where we'll start to see this increase of moisture as we head through the 7th into the 8th here. Bahamas really getting socked in once again with these shower and thunderstorms. Now, right around the 8th, this is where things kind of go crazy across the western, especially the northwestern Caribbean, right around the Cayman Islands. And then this area kind of moves towards Cuba, the southern Bahamas, through Hispaniola here. Haiti, Dominican Republic, Bahamas getting torrential rain, and you see this pivoting right around April 10th into the 11th. Look at this, the last frame. I'm going to leave you with this until we'll switch over to the Euro. That is a massive area of low pressure with a lot of rainfall, tropical rainfall associated with it. All right, so thanks for tropical tidbits here for our European model analysis. We're comparing it here to the GFS. So as we go out here in time, Wednesday, March 26, you can see where the trouble areas are going to be. North central part of the Caribbean, down in through Panama here in Costa Rica, and through the central Lesser Antilles here. Now, this frontal boundary could scrape parts of the southeast Bahamas here. This is where we'll have a lot of shower and thunder shower activity as we head through Thursday into Friday. You can see where this is quite a bit more active than it was I was showing you on the GFS model. So we're really kicking up a lot of shower and thunder shower action. Turks, Caicos down to Jamaica, Dominican Republic here, Puerto Rico. Watch out. We could be looking at a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity as we head into the weekend here. Looking very moist, to say the least, here as we move through Sunday, March 30th here. Now that Bermuda high, this looks like a summertime pattern here. Yeah, it looks like the Florida Peninsula getting in on the act of some of this moisture, but the Bahamas are going to be very rainy. And then as we stretch through the 31st into the 1st, you can see it is that north central part of the Caribbean that really gets in on the act of this heavier rainfall. And that focuses right around the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and then westward towards Jamaica here, maybe a little bit along the northern Honduras coast. But you get the idea. Look where most of the green is as we stretch into that April 2nd time frame. That is where we're going to see the heaviest rain set up. And as we head through the 4th, the 5th, and even into the 6th, we can kind of get an idea, see if it's lining up with the GFS. Look at that up here. That's a lot of stormy action up here in the United States, but you get the idea. As we head through Monday the 7th, look at this heavy rain moving through parts of the Lesser Antilles. Once again, you kind of see the pattern here, this last frame. Not as potent as the GFS was showing, but still a lot of shower action here across the north central Caribbean. As we take a look at sea surface temperature analysis, we are still looking very warm across the western Atlantic, Caribbean, and the Gulf. It does look a little bit cooler, but nevertheless, this is a very large area of 1.5 to 3 degrees above average. And here we go with the western Caribbean and Central America all the way through this weekend. You can see here is that axis of heaviest rainfall here. You can see where it's setting up. Jamaica, Honduras, Nicaragua, all the way through Dominican Republic here in Haiti. You can see these amounts closer to 50, 60 millimeters here, Turks and Caicos. And let's just continue through here. We go all the way through that first full week into the second week of April. Yeah, things are going to moisten up here. Central America does look a little bit drier, not as heavy, but the east coast of Nicaragua, north coast of Honduras, getting up towards, say, 50 to 90 millimeters. It's over here, though. Let me zoom in right in the Dominican Republic area. This is where some of the areas could exceed 100 millimeters, so some beneficial rains moving in, as well as Jamaica here, parts of eastern Jamaica, western Jamaica, even central Jamaica, right around 40 to 60 millimeters. But these red areas closer to yellows, that's where you'll get up towards 80 to 100 millimeters. And here in the Eastern Caribbean, what is going on over here? Well, as we have stretched through the weekend, you can see where the heaviest rain is. We do get some here through the Lesser Antilles, Trinidad, Tobago, all the way up through Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is looking all the way through the first and into the second week of April. You're looking right around, 3/4 to about 1.5 inches on average, closer to 2 inches on both the east and west coast. Here are the Lesser Antilles. You can see we're, these east-facing coastlines, that's where you'll squeeze out close to 90 to 100 millimeters at times. Virgin Islands up here remaining less than, say, 30 millimeters on average. There's Puerto Rico. And here's the Dominican Republic. That's where the rain is really going to start to focus. And here for Canadian Weather Outlook, we are looking at a very snowy time event. We're going to go over those snowfall amounts momentarily, but look at Southeast Canada here. We have our first system just hanging out with lots of showers. Second system back here across central Ontario. We're going to see this flare up around eastern New Brunswick, northern Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland here. And then here is another burst of heavier snow moving through Ottawa right around the 28th into the 29th. Our next storm from the United States pushing a lot of snow northward here into southern Ontario, Ottawa area. Toronto, it looks like you're going to be a mix here. London is mostly rain, but look at here just to the north, even into Nova Scotia, southern Nova Scotia getting in on snow. And continuing, the rest of Canada looks pretty quiet. West Coast will get some spritzels and some wet snowflakes here and there, but it's basically southeast Canada here. As we head into the 30th, into the 31st, look at that. Northern New Brunswick, southern Quebec here, really getting in on the heavy snow once again. Another storm system. This one looks to clip Nova Scotia. And then look at this. We get a little quieter, high pressure building in before we get a massive push here from the United States. Look at the West Coast kind of quieting down temporarily, but look at this. Another storm system. Some of these whiter colors here, a heavy snowstorm the first week of April. Yeah, we could be looking at quite a bit in the way of snowfall action moving into southeast Canada here and eventually the Canadian Maritimes there. So a very active weather pattern. There's the storm systems finally moving in to British Columbia here, these Pacific systems. And we're going to line these systems up across southern Canada. Look at this. This is going to be a storm highway, so to speak, as we head through the 8th into the 9th. Look at this. Another big storm bombing and blowing up here across southern Quebec and the Canadian Maritimes. So you get the idea. A lot of snowy times are ahead. And here we go with our snowfall amounts across Canada. Yeah, look at all the way through the weekend here, all the way through British Columbia, along the U.S.-Canadian border here. This is where we're going to see snowfall amounts of 10 to as much as 30 centimeters, locally higher here into parts of southern Ontario and Quebec. So watch out. Yeah, and then as we continue through that first week of April, things are getting crazy across southern Ontario here, all the way through Manitoba, Saskatchewan, southern Ontario, Quebec, especially northern New Brunswick here in the Canadian Maritimes. Some of these areas could actually approach 40, 50 centimeters total. All right, so let's take a look at your temperatures. Yeah, it's actually cooler here across the Midwest, lakes, and Northeast. We're diving into the 30s in parts of upstate New York, 40s as well. So we'll watch this trend, but look how quickly things are going to start to try to warm up here Thursday. Look at this. We're almost cracking 90 right in the middle of Kansas here. Really remarkable. A nice recovery here in the Ohio Valley into the 50s. And look at the Gulf Coast, 70s and mostly 80-degree temperatures. This is going to surge to the north. Look at parts of southern Ohio getting into the 70s. We're trying to squeeze this, though. Look at this. 40s to the north and 50s into parts of northern Ohio on Friday here. Now watch this into the weekend. This is where things really start to get a little ugly. Look at this temperature difference here. You got 40s to the north, and you got 70s and 80s here to the south. You know there's going to be some trouble. It's going to be in the form of severe weather, obviously, into Sunday. Look at this, 74 in Pittsburgh, 65 in Cleveland. Holding on to some 40s and 50s here into northern New England and the northern mid-Atlantic. But look at the south here, 80s, mid to upper 80s stretching across the entire south here into Monday. We do start to get evidence that there's going to be that colder spell trying to move south and east here. So right around Monday, March 31st, we're holding on to 60s here in the mid-Atlantic, a few 70s down into Virginia. Look at that, 80s into parts of the Carolinas here. Extended forecast from our hometown viewers, Binghamton, Scranton, Upper Susquehanna, River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. As we take a look through the rest of your week, cold start Wednesday morning. There'll be a chance of rain and snow showers throughout the day, only making it up towards 40. Those gusty winds continuing. Finally, Thursday, no gusts of wind. That's great. Sunny skies, lower 50s into Friday. A little bit of increasing clouds in the afternoon, up towards the mid to high 50s. And then Saturday and Sunday into the weekend, showers pretty much every day, but it will be warming through the 60s. And before we continue with more weather coverage, check out these amazing, awesome maps from my affiliate here. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States And you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone. Share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.